Hey y'all, welcome back to the Hack Shack. Today we've got another box from the folks at Hackerboxes.
This is Hackerbox 125, and the name is Vitality. Let's get this on the bench and see what we have inside here. Here we've got our exclusive Run TTL can cooler. Here we've got our 1.3 inch OLED I2C display module. Here we've got a 15 watt wireless fast charger with USB-C cable. Here we've got our 4 exclusive Mochi Companion PCBs. Here we've got an 8 ohm audio speaker. And here we've got an SMD slide switch. This is our ESP32C3 Super Mini Development Board. This is our wireless power receiver module with coil. This is our TP4056 1 amp lithium-ion battery manager module. This is the TTP223 capacitive touch module. And here we've got various SMD female header sockets and some male header pins. This is a wireless power transmitter module with coil. And these are 10 wireless powered RGB LEDs we can play with that coil. And this is the exclusive Hackerbox 125 sticker sheet. And last but certainly not least, we've got our Hackerbox 125 collectible reference card. We've got display and battery manager info on this side. And on the back side, we've got our touch module and the Super Mini.
Before we move on, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, PCBWay.
PCBWay is celebrating their 12th anniversary with a badge design contest, and the prizes are legit. The grand prize is $500 cash plus a $300 coupon. Your badge has to feature the PCBWay name and the number 12. PCB, SMT, 3D printing, go wild. Submit your designs to contests at PCBWay.com by May 10th. Winners will be announced June 10th. Link in the description. Go make something cool. Just like they always do, the folks from Hackerboxes have included a great set of instructions here available on Instructables. I have a link to that in the description. Even if you don't have the Hackerbox, you might find it pretty handy. Alright, so the first part of the Instructable is mentioning wireless LED power. And to demonstrate that, we're going to plug this module in like this. And that big coil is basically, AC. And it's throwing it out there, and there's a little complementary coil on each one of these LEDs that's going to pick that up. And as you can see right there, when things are lined up just right, they will actually power up the LEDs. So this is very cool to play with, and a nice little demonstration of wireless power transfer, and probably could do some neat little projects that would include this kind of thing. I haven't really thought of anything quite yet, but interested to see in the comments if any of you guys have any ideas of some things you might want to do with these LEDs like this. Pretty fun. The next section of the Instructable mentions Qi, and vital energy, vitality, and that kind of goes along with this fast charger here. This is a Qi charger, and this is probably a more everyday demonstration of what we did previously with the LEDs. You probably use a wireless charger with your cell phone sometimes, possibly. And you can see here, the one that was included works just fine with my phone. It also teaches us that the Chinese name Qi means vital energy, so we can see a theme here. All right, so the next part of our Instructable has us moving on to our Mochi Digital Companion project, and the brains for that operation are going to be this ESP32C3 development board. And our first basic test is plugging it in, and we'll see that red power light. And it said in some cases you may see that blue light blinking, and in ours we do see that blinking. Okay, so next the Instructable advises us to install the Arduino IDE if we don't already have that installed. But I'll tell you, technically, to do this Mochi kit, you don't have to use Arduino because we're going to be using something that's already kind of pre-compiled and made for us. But it might be handy for you to go through this process if you think you may ever want to mess with other code of your own pushing it to this device. Then we're going to go into the boards manager there, and we're going to search for ESP32. And we're going to look for the one here by this Expressive Systems. In my case, I already had it installed, but there was an update available because I had an older version that I was using on a previous box. So I went ahead and updated to the latest by hitting this button here. And if you didn't have that, it would just say install there instead of update. Okay, next the instruction manual advises us to go to Tools, Board, ESP32, No Logo ESP32C3 Super Mini. So you want to make sure you select that. And next you want to go to Tools, Import, and select the COM port that showed up when you plugged this in. In my case, you can see here it was 20. Next, we're instructed to open up File, Examples, Basic, Blink. And with that open, you can see I'm going to go in here and mess around with some of these delay values and make them shorter, which should result in a much faster blinking of that blue LED. And after I do that, I'm going to push it to the board and we'll see if it works. And as you can see here, after pushing the code to the ESP32, that's a pretty decently fast rate of blinking we've got there. So that proves that we can send code to this board from Arduino. And again though, you don't necessarily have to do that to complete this project. If you have trouble with this, the instruction manual does mention that you can go and make sure you're putting it in bootloader mode by following these directions right here. You want to hold down the boot button, press the reset button, release the reset button, then release the boot button, and that should put it into bootloader mode and you can try again. Okay, now it's time to actually put the Mochi kit together. I'm going to try to keep the rambling to a minimum, only speaking when it's relevant. I'll go ahead and tell you one thing you may see me using here to hold some stuff in place is a little bit of blue tack. I'll put a link in the description for that. Otherwise, here we go. I used a little hot glue here to hold the speaker in. There was no supplied wire to use for the speaker, so I just used some of this that I had on hand. For this part, I put the header on the other side of the board with the short pins up and just pressed down enough for them to kind of sit up slightly proud of the little board right there, then soldered them into place. Now right here, you'll see for this next part where I'm desoldering the coil from this module, and make sure you do a better job than I did of putting those back in the same exact place they came from, because I had it flipped, and near the end of the project here, I had to go back and swap those around. So just make a note however you want to make sure that when you take these off, they go back in the same place. After getting these display pins soldered in, I was getting this plastic piece off and a little bit too aggressively. And you can see right here, I hear a little crack and realize it. And this is what actually I did. I busted this 0 ohm resistor, and I didn't realize it was a 0 ohm resistor at the time. But I just pushed ahead forward with it open. I hadn't done anything, but I didn't get a good close look at it at this point. All right, at this point, as I had everything together, I hooked it back up and headed over to look at the instructions for getting the actual software on there. Okay, and the instructions kind of link we follow to get to the Mochi project. And it's also got a note here about the SH1106 display we need to use for screen type later on. But we're going to follow that link, and up top you'll see I'm going to pick the English translation. Then I'm going to click X to make that stuff go away here. Then I'm going to click on Install V432, and it's going to pop up, and you'll see here I've got my COM port that the ESP32 is plugged into, which is 20. And this first time I went through and hit install the Mochi and said yes here. It said it's going to erase everything on it. And it started out, but then it timed out. And I tried that a few more times, and it actually failed. And after it failed a few times, I realized that note from earlier, and I did that step where you do the boot reset stuff. And after that, I tried again. And you can see when I did it this time after doing that reset step and put it in bootloader mode, that the install actually finishes successfully. Now, after the actual firmware installs, you can go in and select this setup option here. And then, of course, I'm going to pick English again, and then I'm going to hit this button here to connect to the device. Same thing again, you got to pick the right COM port that it's connected to. And then that's going to bring up a different interface here with various settings and stuff. So I kind of played around in here for a minute and tried to find out where I set that display option that was mentioned in the instructable. And I found that under hardware. So I click on hardware, and then you got the screen type. And the only other option is this SH1106. So then I did that, hit save. And actually I restarted it and got back into it to make sure that that setting had stuck. Now, of course, that display, I was 99% sure I damaged it, and I'm not even going to bother showing you here. It did not display anything. And at the time, I didn't realize how basic the thing that was broken was. So I was either going to try to find a display to borrow or ultimately purchase something else. And ultimately, I decided not to hack up the Veritas box. So I found pretty much what looked like the exact same displays in a 2-pack on Amazon. So I ordered those and had to wait a day or two. I will mention though, make sure if you do order displays like this or replacement ones, a lot of them look very similar, but the power and ground will be flipped in 2 different positions. So keep that in mind if you're looking to get something, or just in general for future reference, so you don't get something that's got incompatible power and ground positions. Now, of course, with this new display, it was working like a champ. One thing I noticed after my initial success with the new display was that it didn't seem to be getting power from the wireless charger portion here. And I figured maybe that was because of the offset and it wasn't quite flush with the charger. And I read some other comments about folks either trimming the other sides of the PCB so it'd sit kind of direct, or loosening this up and spacing it out. So my thought was to kind of loosen this up a little bit and maybe later on put a little 3D printed spacer or something like that to kind of take up that space. However, I found even when almost directly touching the charger, it still wasn't lighting up like it was getting power from the coil. That's when I realized I may not have put these back where they came from, as I mentioned earlier in the video. So I swapped these cables from the coil around that were passed through the other side of the board. And then when I placed it on the charger, it lit up like it was working as expected. So even with this corrected, I noticed that it will not power the Mochi up with the wireless power. And I also noticed that it will not power up the Mochi if I'm plugged into the USB of the charge board. Now you can see here, like it shows in the schematic from the instructable, this is set up to have a battery on it, but there's not one supplied, and I didn't have one handy to try out. The only way I've gotten the thing to power up is to put power or USB directly into the ESP32. So at some point I may try to scrounge up a battery that's compatible and see how that works. Some of you all are getting it to work directly off the Qi charger that was included without a battery attached. Let me know. Or if it works for you with just power going into the charge board without a battery. I'd be interested to know, because maybe I've got something I've messed up here that I don't realize. This thing is a fun little device to play with, and I've barely scratched the surface of the settings and customizations here. I'm going to have to try to check that out a little more in detail soon. Oh, and remember earlier where I told you I messed up that component on the original display board? And it took me a minute to figure out by looking at some close-ups of the original photo. And that was basically just goofing up this 0 ohm jumper that was in this position. So I removed what was left of it and just put this little junky looking solder blob across it, and it works just fine. And that's what you're seeing right here. I've really enjoyed it. It's been pretty fun, and I think you might like playing with this thing too.
It looks like we're going to have ourselves another giveaway. The nice folks at Hackerboxes have graciously offered to send a Hackerbox 125 to a randomly picked commenter. We'll be picking the comment on
April 28th, 2026.
And remember, Hackerboxes only ships to US addresses for this giveaway. So if your comment's picked, but you don't have a US shipping address that we can use, we'll need to pick someone else. Good luck.
At the time of this recording, there are still Hackerbox 125s in stock.
If you don't win the giveaway and want to get one, check them out. Or go ahead and subscribe. Hey, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.